The first thing that was shown in the Mario Maker 2 trailer was the addition of slopes. No longer does Mario have to jump in order to go up, he can now just walk up the hills. And with that came a brand new item that would use the slope mechanic and improve on it, changing it in real time. I'm obviously talking about the Seesaws. Those platforms basically tilt depending on the weight you put on them. Knowing that, you can obviously use them in your levels as dangerous platforms that could tilt you down, but that's pretty much just their basic use. You can actually do so much more. So we're gonna take a look at creative ways of using the— Wait a minute, Nico. Epic Gaming, Nico? What are you doing here? We have a sponsor. Huh, we do. Today's video is sponsored by Blaze Rush. Blaze Rush is an arcade racing survival game available on the Nintendo Switch where you don't have health or brakes. A racing game without brakes? You know this is going to be truly epic. Select your favorite car out of the 16 available ones, pick a track and race to the death with a variety of cool weapons such as poison guns, missiles, machine guns, and so much more. You can play this game with up to 4 players locally without split screen and up to 8 players online. There's dozens of fun tracks that take place on 3 different planets, so each race is totally different from the previous one. Download and play the game on your Nintendo Switch by clicking the link in the description below, and let's play together. Thanks again to Blaze Rush for sponsoring this video. Hey, I'm Nico, and here are 10 creative ways of using the Seesaws in Super Mario Maker 2. One of the more basic uses of the Seesaw is to use it to reach platforms that are too high for Mario to normally reach. Basically, you have to run super fast to reach the platform high up there, because if the Seesaw tilts, you're toasted. While this is a good idea, there are actually ways to improve that. If you make the Seesaw super long and the platform super high, there isn't actually any way Mario can run that fast and reach it in time, and that is where you will have to use items to tilt the scales. Most of the items in Super Mario Maker 2, like POW blocks, P-switches, trampolines, all have a basic weight. So you can actually use those items to put them on a seesaw and put on more weight on a part of the scale, making you able to go to the opposite part of it without it tilting. How about having a level with Yoshi where you have to say farewell at the very end by leaving him on one side to get up there? That is super sad, I know, but it would work though. Following up on that previous idea, you could actually use some seesaws to make a creative way of getting the items needed to tilt the scale. Basically, with the help of the semi-solid platforms, you can now have platforms you can actually go through from under without falling back down. Now, think about that. What if the item you needed was located under said semi-solid platform, where there was no visible way for Mario to go there and get it? You could now place a seesaw that would be used to tilt the item up the semi-solid platform, thus making you able to grab it and use it. That's one cool thing about the seesaws. They can actually interact with way more than just Mario. Enemies, power-ups, items, you name it! You can now hide your power-ups in little boxes made out of semi-solid platforms and force the players to use the seesaws to get them. It sadly has its limits though, not working with keys or bricks. But since it works with enemies, just hide the key inside of him and bring that enemy up and get the key. And there you go. So this next one kinda circles back to a previous video in that series. I talked about creative ways to use the twisters 2 weeks ago, and one of them was to use the seesaws to bring them to places they're not supposed to go to. But you can actually do that with many enemies. Most enemies can't jump, so if they run into a wall, they just go back to the opposite direction. But what if you actually needed those enemies to clear the stage? Place some seesaws and this will allow you to create slopes for them so that they can follow you. You can even use that on big enemies like thwomps to move them up, and this is super useful in the Super Mario World theme where you can actually stand on top of the thwomps. The possibilities are endless. So, as I said earlier, every item and enemies have a certain weight to them, and that impacts how the seesaw will tilt. Some of the heavy items include the cannon and the bullet bill blaster, and most of these items are only being loaded in a level once you reach them. meaning you could actually put some cannons up in the sky, and as Mario approaches them, then they fall down on the seesaw and tilt it, blocking your path. Let's say the end of the level is down there, you can make it look like it's possible to reach the area, but then, boom, it's no longer possible, my dude. You're gonna have to go the long way. You just got lay epic trolled. So obviously, now that we know we can block areas with the seesaws and force the player to go somewhere else, we should also use them to unlock some areas. And you can actually do that using many items. One of my favorite ways of doing it is by using the seesaws with some bombs. Everybody knows bombs can blow up walls, and I've seen countless levels where you just use a fireball to ignite them from a distance and unlock a path. But what if there was no fire to ignite that little bomb? Well, there's actually a very smart way of using the tilting mechanic to crush the bomb and force it to explode. You can't actually crush a bomb using only the seesaw. You need a little help from, once again, our buddies the Bill Blaster. Build this little contraption over there with the bomb walking on top of the blaster, and then ground pound the seesaw to crush everything and blow up the bomb. And ta-da! Your path is now open. If you want to use it in game themes where you cannot do ground pounds, just use our buddy the Thwomp and it will work the same. While we're on the topic of using ground pounds, let me tell you that using them with seesaws is pretty fun. First off, you can obviously put some enemies on the seesaws and use ground pounds to make them fly up in the air. Woo! And he's gone. It works with everything, even heavy enemies and objects like Bowser and the Bullet Bill launchers. This means you can put Bowser on a seesaw and have to ground pound to make him fly to then go under him and proceed to the next part of the level. But one of my favorite use is with the Bill launcher. This big thing here is basically a beautiful tennis paddle waiting to be used. I have these example levels here where you have this cannon shooting shells and you need to time your ground pound to block the shell and make it bounce back on your head. Or you can have this wall made out of icicle in your way, and the only way to make it past it is to block the shell using a seesaw ground pound to have the shell go all the way back there and hit that node block and give you a star. The possibilities are pretty much endless on that one. Ground pounds and seesaws are meant for one another. One of the cool things about the seesaws is that you can actually put them on rails. So this means you can now have them moving through a very dangerous path filled with many enemies. But hear me out. What if all of this was taking place above the lava or poison water and the platform tilting would mean a certain death to you? This would be one heck of a multiplayer troll level, but even if you're playing alone, you could make this so that enemies fall down from the sky and you'd have to quickly defeat them before they make the platform tilt. Think of the Magma River Cruise level in New Super Mario Bros. U, where you had to quickly defeat enemies because they would stop the platform from moving, but you know, with a tilting platform and lava rising and way more spookiness, yeah, that'd be sick. While we're on the topic of using seesaws with rails, you can actually make some very stressful rail puzzle levels where you'd have to shift the weight to make sure not to fall down and die. If you take a look at this level here, it looks like it's impossible to go through at first. Well, move to one side of the seesaw and everything is now possible. You could combine this with previous ideas we had, such as using P-switches hidden under a semi-solid platform, forcing you to tilt the seesaw. Even the bomb trick from earlier could potentially work on a rail. This would make everything more intense and way more harder, but it's worth a shot. I've played a lot of levels and I've seen a lot of naked pipes in a lot of levels. If you don't know, a naked pipe is a pipe that floats in midair and it looks bad. But what about naked doors? You've seen those? Doors floating in midair have been used with POW blocks for years now, making you bring your POW block and then place it in order to enter the door. You see where I'm going with this, right? You see this door over there? It is impossible to go in it, right? Wrong! Use the seesaw and tilt the platform and voila! You can now enter it easily. And you can also put floating red coins that you have to get by tilting the platform. My point here is, don't be afraid to put random stuff floating in midair if you can actually move the seesaw and get them all. Considering we have so few bosses in Super Mario Maker, it is always important to try to make them as entertaining as we can. And since those bosses move around quickly and can interact with the seesaws, I think combining those two things together is actually a great way of making a very epic and hard boss fight. Put some spikes around the seesaw so that you can't cheat it, and you'll be all good. Fighting Bowser Jr., Bowser, or the Mad Lad Boom Boom himself never was that much fun. Hey, thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell, and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. If you want to go the extra mile and have your name featured in the end card like those amazing people over there, hit the join button or click the link in the description. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one.